A very warm welcome to our third panel discussion today at the Hospital Infrastructure Summit. In this discussion today, the topic is how can Medtech solve the Indian healthcare challenges? And in this session, we have our esteemed panel members, Dr. Adit Desai, Managing Director, KD Hospital. I welcome you, sir, being the moderator of the session. Ravindra Kanjarekar, CEO of the Kiran Super Multi-Speciality Hospital. I welcome you, sir. Ms. Veelu Williams, CIO and Head Digital Transformation, Sri HN Reliance Foundation Hospital. Welcome, ma'am. Dr. Chandrika Kadam, who is the Director of Clinical Services Healthcare Global Enterprises Limited. Welcome, ma'am. Mr. Niranjan Ramakrishnan, CEO of MyLab Connect and Vice President Digital, Lexicor Dental Group. Welcome, sir. And last but not least, we have Mr. Subhash Vashisht, who is the Senior Technical Advisor of the Medical Electronics at the IMED. I welcome everyone today at our panel discussion. And I leave the virtual dais to you, Dr. Adit, to moderate the session.
Introduction of all our esteemed guests, to add just a little bit more to what you have already said. I'd like to introduce Mr. Ravindra Kanjarekar, who is the CEO of Kiran Super Multi-Speciality Hospital. He has also been the chairperson of NABH in Quality Council of India, which is an apex body for quality in the country from 2010 to 2014. Welcome, sir. Ms. Veelu Williams, an accomplished and performance-driven senior executive with over 29 plus years of significant techno-functional experience, leading innovation and digital transformation to enhance customer and patient experience, predominantly in healthcare domain. Dr. Chandrika Kambam, a qualified internal medicine consultant from the United States of America, and after working as a hospitalist in the United States, she returned to India in 2007 with over 20 plus years of healthcare experience. Integrating technology and using technology to improve patient care is her forte. Mr. Niranjan Ramakrishnan, who is an entrepreneurial and driven chief technologist with 20 plus years of experience in leading healthcare industry expertise in leading numerous companies. Has also worked with Kaveri Group of Hospitals and Sri Sir Gangaram Hospital, New Delhi. Mr. Subhash Vashisht, who is a global industrial leader with over 35 years of profound experience directing manufacturing and supplying chain operations for medical equipment and devices, pharmaceuticals, F&B, and FMCG companies. A very warm welcome to all of you. I would like to begin today's session on how can Medtech solve the Indian healthcare challenge by asking my first question to Mr. Niranjan Ramakrishnan. Sir, the first question for you is, what are the latest technologies and solutions in Medtech, the latest being in the year 2020 or 2021, that can help us move forward in the healthcare space? So you'll have to unmute yourself.
Thanks, Elets and Mr. Ravi and team, and thanks, Dr. Adit, for putting together the questions. See, in terms of the technology, I think the way I would really want to start is there are hundreds of technologies coming and going, across the industries, especially healthcare. But there are certain industrial things, like especially when it comes to healthcare, that we would always want to keep talking about is, telehealth and telemedicine. Been 20 years, I'm hearing this, that this is one of the top technology innovation, and even today in 2021, we are talking about it. But I think in all the last 15, 20 years, this year was the most relevant, I would say, for that particular piece of technology, where it really become applicable, or it was effectively adopted. So that way, even in 2019, I don't know whether people would have talked more about telehealth, but in 2020, 21, definitely telehealth is the technology that really matters a lot. But what we really learned is it's not just the OPD consultation level. It should go beyond that, and it should really have an integrated telehealth system. It should be a kind of a virtual hospital. It's not just the consultation alone. That alone will not solve the problem. The second most important technology that I personally experienced through my work experience is the 3D printing. it is actually doing extremely good value add to a lot of our services, especially the clinical services. In our own industry, especially in dental space, we almost do 3D printing every other day, right? So 3D is going to
Right.
be a huge thing. Then the robotic automation, whether it is the in the procedure, like in operation procedure, or even the medical devices manufacturing part, robotic automation is going to be the real game changer. I'd seen practically in some of the Western countries like how that almost replaced a lot of repetitive works and time-saving activities, etc. Then even the same robotic through the software, we call it as a robotic process automation (RPA). That is going to really change the way that the quick turnaround time that we needed in the hospital sector, especially countries like India, where we have too many patients waiting to get served, and we have less number of medical professionals and administrative skilled professionals. So RPA is going to be a huge the technology that is going to really solve. Of course, AI is most talked about it, but less practically utilized technology. But I think in the coming days, whether it is virtual reality or augmented reality combined with the AI, is going to make a huge difference. In dental space, we use this really high level, and it's going to come into the other aspect itself. And the last part is, of course, with the 5G coming in, the IoT is going to really make a completely different ball game with the 5G. It's going to be, I would say, a lab in a chip, or a diagnostic center in a chip kind of a model. A hospital in a box is going to be the futuristic approach, and IoT with 5G combination is going to be a real game changer. Over to you,
Right,
Adit.
right. Thank you. Thank you so much, sir, for that elaborate answer. Before moving on to the next question, I would just like to tell all my fellow panelists that, I want this panel to be very informal and friendly. So if anyone wants to pitch in during someone else's answer, please feel free to do that. And, we want to have an open discussion with all of us pitching in. My next question is to Mr. Ravindra Karanjekar. Sir, for innovation to make an impact, collaboration between the stakeholders in the medical technology ecosystem is a key success factor. Doctors, tech professionals, and administrators. So, what is your take on that? What is your perspective?
Yeah, thank you, Adit. You're absolutely right because unless and until the stakeholder has a positive feeling about all these technologies, it won't go ahead. I have seen number of technologies coming in, going out in last 40 years, and eventually they write down, especially because the user person or the stakeholders were not happy with it. What was happening initially in the innovation part was lot of applications were developed by the IT people, presumably that they may be used or it may be of useful to somebody. That was their perception about the use. But in reality, the people who were supposed to use wanted something different than what they have created. So from that angle, user and the stakeholder need to be on the one line along with the innovator. Then only probably the innovations will work. The second part is that the initial innovations which came in were largely, I won't say exactly all of them, but 95% of them were business related. How to make the ease in terms of the business, how to make the cash money into the credit money, how to make the all data listing and or probably follow up the thing, all that. I would say last 5 6 years it was changing. The use of telemedicine and use of teleradiology. These are the two glaring examples where it can be really helpful to the doctors, and they can do the work from their home, they can do the work from their car, they can do the work from anywhere else. And here now the technology has played a great part because passing on a figure or a image on WhatsApp is of no use, but with teleradiology, you're getting the similar kind of images with the
Hmm.
probably which you can see in CT scan and MRI. You are able to diagnose it there and there itself. Similarly, in emergency area, the teleradiology as well as telemedicine, especially the cardiac part, has played a great
Right.
role. And here they have saved a lot of lives. The third part now I
Mm.
am coming to is the diagnostics which we are able to do from a remote place. Now, a minute on this, I have seen a place in Daman where the civil hospital is conducting the telemedicine with the help of equipment, telemedicine equipment in small padas, and where hardly 50 people, 100 people stay, and a medical social worker or a paramedical person tries to connect them to main office, and 80% of them get teleconsultation along with the telediagnostics from that place, and a civil hospital can run an OPD of when I saw it was around 500 a day, where people don't have
Right.
to travel up to that place and come back. So these are the some of the changing examples. But today the robotics with like Dr. Tejas Patel did it in Ahmedabad. From Amsterdam to Ahmedabad, he could do a stenting. These are the things which are going to help in a long way for our medical field. And the last is now that COVID. The COVID has changed our way of, it has created a new normal. New normal in the
Mm.
sense for first 6 months last year, I was seeing that no doctor was willing to show his face. It was behind this thing, behind the screen, and then covered with all masks. And then he used to see patient on the screen and advise him and let him go. Similarly, such type of telemedicine has been helpful from Mumbai to Surat, Mumbai to other places for the patients because they could show the directly figures or collect the your ventilators and other parameters to other place where they can give you a decision and a lot of lives were saved. And now after the
Right.
COVID,
Right.
I'm seeing it that telemedicine has become an essential part of the whole thing. So in a new way, the stakeholders as well as innovators, if they are on the same page, we can leap forward. Otherwise, we will stagger at that place only.
Right. Right. Thank you. Thank you so much, sir, for that answer. I'd like to move forward with my next question to Ms. Veelu Williams. Ma'am, how are hospitals investing in medical technology, and what are the kind of outcomes that the hospital expects, right from the patient point of view till the the business head point of view? Ma'am, you'll have to unmute yourself.
Sorry.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
So I don't know really how to answer the how part of it. But when we say the investments in medical technology that hospitals are looking forward to make, the hospitals currently, I think at least in the last 1 year, 1.5, 2 years, they were majorly focused on how to get clinical outcomes better, how to
Right.
improve the patient experience. See, every hospital has got different kinds of patients coming in.
Hmm.
Some
Hmm.
patients are very high profile, some patients are normal people who just want medical treatment and good medical treatment. While there are hospitals which have to, take care of the patient's expectations, which are of having 5-star facilities even in a hospital. Their expectations are quick services in minutes, not in hours, no waiting
Hmm.
time, and there are many factors which hospitals face as challenges, and to overcome
Right.
these challenges is the focus of how
Hmm.
to involve medical technology, not only medical technology as in clinical, but medical technology also in terms of a hospital's administrative
Hmm.
requirements.
Hmm.
So when we talk about investments, see, there are digital hospitals. Most of the hospitals today are already digitized. They have no dearth of software. They have got a lot of investments already made in HIS systems and medical equipments. So, what is really lacking where they need to invest more to fulfill or bring about that patient experience, which will create a wow factor in the patient's
Right.
mind, as well as give a medical treatment which the patients are looking for. So,
Right.
even now, today, with all the advancements, what I have observed or seen is that hospitals are focused on creating that experience for a faster turnaround time for the patients,
Right.
right? We have the best of HIS systems, that is the hospital information systems, collecting all the kinds of information. Even then, we find that information is not captured fast enough. Information is not so. There is a requirement to keep enhancing and building upon these systems, building better solutions, building better, bringing in better technology that is faster by itself. Somebody mentioned 5G. Somebody mentioned, so many technologies of robotics and bringing in all this. But yes, what does the patient want? Where should the hospital focus? Is the hospital's investment in medical technology aimed at benefiting the patient, aimed at making a profit, or aimed at running the hospital? This is the so what I always say is that we need to have a roadmap in front of us. Where do you want to see your hospital grow? How do you want the hospital to benefit the patient? Because at every healthcare system, the central focus has to be the patient. If the patient
Right.
is not your focus, then you are not in the right place as far as healthcare is concerned. So,
True.
yes, as a hospital, we focus a lot on getting the best of medical equipment that money can afford. All hospitals should do that. Everybody may not be able to give the five-star treatments, but do whatever you can to bring about a change in the patient's experience by investing in that kind of technology that helps the patient. Telehealth is become a very, very focused area as of today because the patient, especially in COVID times, patients do not want to travel. They do not want to really come to the hospital for every small thing.
Yeah.
And bringing in even simple things like teleconsultation has helped the patients a lot, and which is one thing that patients have also appreciated to a large extent. But we can't bring everything to the patient's home, so
True.
we need to create that kind of an environment where the patient can come to you as well as also get treatment more remotely than always having to come to the hospital. There are
Right.
lots
Right.
lots of things of how the hospital can invest in medical technology,
Right.
and this needs to be seen from a case to case basis.
Right. Super. Thank you. Thank you, ma'am. My next question was directed to Dr. Chandrika Kambam. Ma'am, what are the emerging business opportunities in the health tech ecosystem of India? Any exciting startups or anything that you have come across that you can share with us? Ma'am, you'll have to unmute yourself.
Very
Yeah.
good afternoon to all of you and for the viewers. And thank you, Elets, for organizing this conference and inviting me. Adit, very good question. So there are a lot of opportunities. I also associated with the NASCOM, where we look at the deep technologies and also the new healthcare emerging technologies for to be able to use in the low cost resource is one of the projects called Care is something that we are looking at. For the viewers, if I have to say, there is opportunity everywhere. Just to give you a statistics, India, if you take the whole of India as 100%, 70% of the Indian population is in the rural areas, and only 30% is in the urban areas. And when you come to healthcare distribution, 70% is focused on this 30% population, and only 30% is focused on the 70% of the population which is in the rural area. So if you see, there is a huge gap in the requirement of the healthcare and the ability to deliver the healthcare. So how do you reach this 70% of the rural population that is out there? It is not possible to take the skilled manpower to the rural areas because of other infrastructure, other environment that is not suitable for many of these highly skilled people to go and settle there. So how do we bridge the gap? So the technology, there is a huge opportunity for the people in technology to develop systems that helps us to bridge this gap. So like if you see the way it is divided, the healthcare system in India, in the villages you should have primary healthcare centers, then you have the district level hospitals, then you have the tertiary and the quaternary care hospitals. So what we need is in the rural areas, we need a very good infrastructure in the form of a simple clinic, and also an infrastructure in form of a good internet connection, good bandwidth, and a good technology to be placed there. And when it comes to skill, to train the people who belong to those villages in identifying the emergencies, giving first aid, conducting normal deliveries. So already we have that infrastructure, but that needs to be augmented with the modern technology, modern ways of handling things, and augmenting their skill to come up to the standard, current standard of delivery of care. So there are a whole lot of technological opportunities that are available in this sector. And then there are the opportunities when you come to district level. There are opportunities like tele ICU, tele OPD setup. Then there is teleradiology, telepathology. All these can be set up at a district level hospital, so that the very highly skilled people at the metros can support the district level hospitals in managing the secondary up to the secondary level of care. So there are a whole lot of technology that can be developed in these areas, which are at low cost, which can be scalable, which can be replicable, and which can be used to the population at large. And now coming to the tertiary centers and the metros, though there is a saturation of healthcare providers, definitely there are a lot of things that we can do. Do with the data that is already being collected at the tertiary level centers, like data analytics, artificial intelligence, ability to read simple scans using the retrospective data that is fed into the system using AI algorithms, big data analytics, machine learning. All these things can be done at the tertiary level, which in turn will support the district hospitals and the rural hospitals to be able to function with less manpower and less skilled staff. The skilled staff. So there are a lot of opportunities in that area as well. There are a lot of opportunities. People are working in augmented reality, like creating technologies that help autism, the creating technologies that help disease specific interventions, and a whole lot of work is being done in genetics, in genomics, in gene mapping, so that we can come up with precision medicine, and precision medicine, and personalized medicine. So I think these are all the areas. I've given a broad spectrum of areas where there are opportunities for technology companies to work in healthcare and bridge the gap of rural and urban, and be able to provide affordable and accessible care to the population at large. Thank you.
Right. Excellent, man. Thank you so much. My next question would be to Mr. Subhash Vashisht. Sir, what according to you is the future of medical technology, with the government encouraging the growth of medical devices sector in the country and the Make in India drive pushing industrial growth?
Yeah, first of all, thank you all, giving me opportunity to participate. Special thank to Elets and viewers. My view, actually, if you see, I'm working very closely with the government and industries. the gap in medical technology, what is required in India, the gap, let's understand the gap actually, first of all. In India, our consumptions on medical devices $5, per capita, against actually about 50, per capita of world average. And if we compare with China, it's about 150, So we have actually big gap actually, in the medical device industries in India. And that is the reason why we are importing more than 85 to like current COVID situation in some of the medical device, we are importing more than 90%. And that actually lead a big supply chain issue, a big actually gap in meeting the requirement. I think the few example like oxygen generator, oxygen concentrator, oximeter, ventilator, and that is creating a big issue. Now the point is definitely, I think Dr. Chandrika mentioned about the new technology, but at the same time, we are really equally concerned that our more than 70% of population in urban area, in rural area. However, actually our medical facilities is on urban side, and how we really match it. I think she describes a very good model. And in the same way, it means if industries is growing by 16 to 18%, medical device industries I'm talking about, where at this point in time, I think world's lowest bed per 1,000 people. I think we are holding, if I'm not mistaken, zero point 0.9 bed per 1,000, people in India. So if you see the scope, one is an advanced technology, but my focus is more basic technology, the basic need of healthcare, how we meet that actually requirement. Government actually is doing, I think after this wave one and wave two, we all agree that we find actually a huge gap in our overall national disaster management plan, how to really prepare ourselves actually on the national disaster plan. So that is actually one outlook actually on the whole situation in coming time for healthcare. Second is actually government of India is actually proposed, many states come forward to set up roughly 5 to 6 medical park in India. We are working very closely with the government, but I think speed and I think commitment to execution, where actually we need to focus more. Hope actually most of you must be have seen an action plan on Atam Nirbhar agenda of India. There are many medical device actually which we are talking about. We need to address immediately, and many of these actually we need to address in futuristic point of view. But I think what we need currently, we are working with industries. Government is really helping actually small industries or industries in developing in India to really come out with like an oximeter. We are able to develop actually roughly about, our estimate is about 1 lakh oxygen generator we are able to produce very quickly. Similar way actually like ventilator. There are a lot of entrepreneurship which is come forward, and I think we are working with that. Even government is taking a very close look on those things. But I think for a long-term perspective, the question rise actually with the nation is that how we really address the real futuristic requirement of healthcare in India, and especially I'm touching medical device because like pharma we are doing excellent as a country. How we are able to do excellent in medical device, I have my view actually, which as a aim that we share with the government of India, we share with our industries, and we are working on promoting the same. First of all, in my opinion, we should have a national roadmap actually, a product portfolio after discussing with healthcare or healthcare industries or a healthcare provider. What is the portfolio we are looking for? Because take an example of in wave one, we never anticipated that oxygen will be an issue, whether we did actually oral SWOT analysis of wave one, what we needed. So I think that kind of an analysis will really give us more insight. But if we need to really catch up, we need to have actually, I think, a 3-point agenda, which I normally drive. One is definitely that how we promote R&D and innovation center, because that will bring local manufacturing. That will bring, instead of a high-end product, we are able to develop low-end product, a low-end technology which can be upgraded to higher end, to basic need of India, or country like India, in my opinion. We can actually develop for India and we can develop for global from that standpoint of view. The other thing is why we are importing 85%, because when we in the current supply chain setup, if you produce in India, it is actually sometime in some of actually big technological devices, it may costly to start with. Why? Because we don't have actually component manufacturing in India. Component manufacturing remain stay with all the developed countries, and that makes supply chain more costly. That's why it is much more needed to develop or to promote component manufacturing for medical devices in India, which bring the cost overall down for healthcare. And I think there are enough things like duty structure is another big issue, big subject which we are pursuing. But I think take an example of in the current scenario where government actually waive off a lot of duty actually for these required like oximeter or oxygen, but that bring a stress of a negative stress actually on the Indian manufacturers itself. Similar way, I think since pharma is doing great, pharma is doing very well in India, we should have a separate, what do you call, a separate regulatory structure in India for medical device so that we can unilaterally, whether it is a country, whether it is a government, medical device company, healthcare provider, we work unilaterally on the same agenda. And I think that will bring us in a better position as a medical technology in India. And I'm hopeful that I think we are working on the right direction. But again, the speed and execution commitment is a challenge for all of us at this time.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. My next question is to Mr. Ravindra Karanjekar. Sir, what is the importance of incentivized research and development to strengthen medical technology ecosystem in India? How do we incentivize it for our tech people?
See, I would rather here say one more thing is that incentivizing is one part, but actually the hospital should be, because ultimately whatever the innovation is coming into the healthcare will require a patient base, and without patient
Right.
base or the mass track, it is absolutely not possible to accept it. One more thing is that the mindset of the people, doctors, something coming from outside, it is very difficult. There is a block in the mind. They don't accept so easily. Being from the doctor fraternity, I can tell you that whatever new comes, it is easy to assimilate. And whatever they have learned in their 10 years or 20 years back, they continue to do it. Not that all doctors do it, but for that purpose, a group of hospitals, maybe the leading group of hospitals, should partner with the tech firms to create some kind of innovations. And the need, I tell you again, the need must not be felt by the technical people. Need must be felt by the doctors
Hmm.
and the patients. And that need has to be fulfilled by the technical people rather than a perceived need. Because we
True.
number of times in hospital also see that we feel something is good for the patient. But when we actually do it for the patient don't appreciate or patient don't feel anything good about that because
Yeah.
they feel we are doing something which is not required by him. So that
Yeah.
perception which is coming by the doctors and by the hospitals and the patient need to grow, and that can grow only if these tech people are partnering with the hospital. And here when I am talking partner, because again I'll tell you another thing, a small thing, because I must have started about 10 or 12 big hospitals in the country.
Right.
Once you go into the HIS, or once you go into some kind of technology, it's not so easy to change it. So you are married to that for next 5, 10, 15 years. Whatever new may come in, doesn't matter. but then you are married to that and you continue with that. Instead of that, if something new is developed, sitting on the present technology, then that will be able to work much more better way for the patient than continuing. And here, big hospitals have a patient base, so you can analyze it properly. When I interview the people coming, different technology people coming to me, I ask them where you have done it. Some small hospital or in lab or some other place. That doesn't work. If you have a large base of 2,000, 5,000, 10,000 people, you have worked it well, I will go ahead with that. So that is where the partnering will be more important than incentivizing them for a particular applications or anything else.
Right. Right. That makes a lot of sense. Thank you. Thank you for your insight, sir. My next question would be to Mr. Niranjan Ramakrishnan. Sir, in a country like India with a population of almost 1.3 billion people, how do you think technology can help the public and private healthcare sector manage and collate the data that is collected in the urban as well as the rural India?
Yes, Adit. In fact, the one of the point that I really wanted to, add to my previous answer was the best technology that is going to rule the healthcare is the data technology, right? So
Mm.
anything that we do deal with the data that is going to rule the world. In fact, today, the way we are buying the technology, investing on the technology, be it the hardware technology or medical devices technology or information technology, it's all about the data, right? And even for example, like one of the projects that I'm currently working on is on the pre-COVID and post-COVID and pre-vaccination, during vaccination, post-vaccination. How do we collect that information, and how do we kind of link that with the pharmacovigilance or any other kind of analysis, and how do we even prepare the country, prepare the government for for any kind of, whether it's a third wave coming in or any other post impact of vaccination or like post impact of COVID, what are the health problems that we are going to face, how do we really even face it out, how do we even handle it, right? Today we are more of reacting to the situation because we are not prepared, and we are not even a lot of the guidelines that even if you really see from WHO or from Minister of Health or from our own individual private doctors, it keeps changing because we don't have enough technology to even come to any conclusion, right? This particular pandemic may be one of its time, but even normal problems also, we are totally like ignorant to most of the facts. We are kind of we are made of opinions. So the data has to really become the game changer, because data really brings in the facts, and that really makes the scientific part. So the way that data should be is, one is the structured data, and in fact I used to talk about data governance. Most of the healthcare organizations, they don't even believe in that, that needs to be a department or a function called data governance team. So it's most important team that any healthcare organization should formulate is a data governance team. And then how do we even, before even buying a software, like as the rightly was saying, we are not supposed to get married to somebody with whom we want to live with, right? We have to really like use it effectively, and we should really get the benefit. There should be effective update and upgrade and everything. So the only way to do is, we should have a data governance team, and we know what kind of information we want to collect, how we want to process that information, how we are going to convert that into wisdom, and then make a decision making platform. So the only way to do that is putting the right data governance structure, and any kind of technology we are going to invest, that should also really help us in managing the data. So with the light of volume that you are talking about, we will become the world's richest data source, and with varied kind of information, so we can really rule the world. So in
Right.
fact, yesterday I was listening to somebody that if pandemic is going to be the biggest opportunity for biotechnology for India. With the natural resources we have, we can actually rule the world. So we should not even look at it as a negative, but we should really look at this as a positive opportunity.
Mm. True, true, true. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you. Ms. Williams, ma'am, the next question is directed to you. How can medical technology innovations help in making healthcare accessible and available to all?
Dr. Adit, I have answered this question many times in my previous events
I'm
also,
sure.
and it is a very, very critical question to answer.
Yeah.
Every human being has to have, or has the right to, the best of medical treatment.
Right.
But but do they really get it? And how can medical technology enable this? Most importantly, the first step is the involvement of, I don't know, all players together, be it the government, be it the big hospitals, be it the smaller hospitals. But there has to be something created where interoperability of all the people's data is available. They can access their data from anywhere. And this is the first step towards making it, you know, reachable or accessible to everybody. So cloud would play a very, very big role, but with security concerns, with governance concerns, as Niranjan pointed out, we are always worried about how do we share our data, how do we, make the data accessible to everybody. But we all have to think on these lines, that the first and foremost is that how is the treatment accessible to the patient, in terms of how can the patient reach that particular hospital or the clinic or the doctor. A lot is being said about telehealth. Again, remote monitoring, and what ma'am also said, you know, telehealth can reach out to a lot of teleradiology, ICU, medicine, can reach out to a lot of district level people, wherein senior consultants, specialists can give their expertise. They can share their expertise with across the masses, sitting in whichever big hospital they do. And medical technology, in terms of creating the kind of networks, the cloud platforms, these are the areas that need investment and need focus,
Right.
wherein they can actually create a platform which is reachable to every level of people, every level of the patients. Second thing is that people are so focused on treatment. The masses also need a wellness program. A lot is being done, as I read all across on the internet, but a lot more needs to be done, and creating that kind of outreach programs where medical technology can help a lot is how bigger hospitals can play a role in reaching out to them. In addition to all this, actually, people need programs where they are what do you call it, at a lower cost. They can reach better healthcare. Now, when we talk about large investments in medical technology from bigger hospitals, everything then automatically becomes expensive. So this is where we focus on investing more on the network, the telehealth programs, the communication channels, which can enable people to be connected. There are lots of ways to do this. If I start talking about how to do this here, we'll need another 1 hour to actually
I'm
discuss
sure.
this.
Yeah.
But yes,
We'll have another panel discussion for that.
the broad idea is to, extend this resource through our investments to these far-flung areas, to the remote areas, to even the people in big cities. There are lots of people who are not able to reach the best treatment, and it is a partnership. It is a partnership between, a lot has been said about PPP and all that, but there is a focused partnership needs to be built, wherein higher investments of medical technology can enable these patients to get the right care, and channels can be opened up for them to be reached.
Right. Thank you. Thank you so much, ma'am. My next question is to Mr. Subhash Vashisht. Sir, a transforming medical technology landscape, improving healthcare delivery and financing problems, and changing patient profile. Now, what is the importance of these factors in driving growth in the medical technology industry?
Yeah, very good question. Let me actually start with like this. Normally, whenever we have been asked what is the biggest industries, we talk about IT, but that is not true. You know, the biggest industries in the world is actually agri and food, which is about 14 trillion, industries. And the second biggest is healthcare, which is about 9 to 10 trillion industries. It means healthcare industries, it's growing much faster than any other industries at this point of time. And why it is growing faster, because uh, if you see from 1990, our population has gone up like anything overall in the world. I think 4 or 5 times. Life expectancy has gone up. Since 1990. Overall rise actually on NCDs, increase actually disposable incomes, increase in insurance, like in India. Just I think 3 4 years before, our insurance was about 2%, or sorry, 3% in India. But at this point of time, overall, with the government help, penetration of insurance has gone up by 20%. Now, the point which I'm making is, let's take an example of in India. If insurance actually just go with the government scheme only, I'm not touching actually the private, but if government scheme actually implemented on insurance, the overall population may be covered 40 50% actually in next 5 year time. That will actually double or triple the size of medical industries which we are forecasting at this point of time. At this point of time, our forecast, like globally, medical device industries is growing by six CAGR, but in India it is growing by 15 CAGR, 15 to 16 CAGR. So the point which I'm making is these factors, the way it is really impacting, the way actually industries should grow in India and the way it is growing, we see actually we need to catch up a lot in overall scenario at this point of time. And I think as these diseases, I'm giving an example. I'm not a doctor, but let me actually give you an example of cardiology. Actually, in my view, that I think in 90s when cardiology or the heart diseases was on the peak, but at this point in time the trend is downward. Why? Because the medical technology is able to overcome, some of these challenges. And similar way, if you see currently the biggest investment we are doing in the world is on cancer. The similar way, we are expecting that cancer disease will go down. Similar way, I'm saying NCDs or maybe current issues of like COVID and other thing, it's shaken the world. Definitely, I think research will go and move actually towards this direction, how to prevent. And I think we will find new technology, new solution on these things. But I think my perspective is that, and my focus is that how we will make the technology available in India on affordable price, and this is only possible that if we work continuously to reduce import, and to develop domestic production in India, domestic actually R&D in India. I think that will solve many problem or upcoming problem of medical technology. I see actually two field in the new technology. I think Dr. Chandrika also mentioned AI, which is really working actually on a big way. Big data, is working actually on a big way. So I think take an example of company, even IT company is coming into healthcare. Why they are spending in healthcare? Because everything is going actually to analytical. Maybe after some time we will find cure and solutions of healthcare disease issues through data science. And that's the power of the data science, which is actually emerging at this small time. But I think to the basic, I think from an industrial standpoint of view or a medical device industry standpoint of view, we need to keep focusing on how to reduce import in India, how to make India independence or Atmanirbhar on medical device, how to create a ecosystem in India which can feed the overall requirement of medical device to the healthcare provider. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, sir. My next question would be to Dr. Chandrika. Ma'am, how can medical technology help in lowering the costs of healthcare products and make healthcare more affordable? Ma'am, you're on mute.
So thank you,
Yeah.
Dr. Desai. The first thing that comes to everybody's mind when we talk about technology is cost. The cost that is involved, and is it really worth it? But if you go back and look into the history, how the medicine has evolved. They used to build 1,000-bedded hospitals earlier because the average length of stay for a patient was used to be 5 days, 6 days, 7 days after a surgery, and especially open surgeries and things like that. Now you see the average length of stay has come down to 2 to 3 days. Because of the techniques, because of the technology that we are using, as simple as laparoscopic technology that has become so in and such a bread and butter aspect of surgery was able to happen because of the technological advancement. The average length of stay has come down, the total cost has come down, the morbidity and mortality of the patients have come down significantly. There are certain things which nobody has measured, or probably nobody has taken time to measure, is that a person undergoing a open surgery versus a laparoscopic surgery, and the complications that were associated with it, the morbidity that was associated with it, the mortalities that were associated with it, the loss of man hours, working hours that was associated with it. So those aspects were never quantified. The only thing that were quantified is, yes, the open surgery cost less money, the laparoscopic surgery cost more money. But when you look at the holistic picture, is laparoscopic more advantageous from every aspect of it? Yes, it is. But technologically, is it little expensive than the open? Yes, it is. But at what cost? So that cost versus benefit analysis we have to see, and then talk about the technology. That is why I always stress on the fact of appropriate use of technology is very important in order to reduce the cost. When we talk about the rural areas, earlier it was difficult. We did not have good internet connection, we did not have mobile phones, we did not have all these gadgets. Now, with the advent of mobile phones, 4G and 5Gs, and WhatsApp calls and videos being available everywhere, it is just a piece of cake to have a consultation online at any given point of time anywhere in the world. So technology has become so much available now for people. So we need to leverage that, and there are many times the follow-ups can be easily done through using technology. A person who is in tier 2, tier 3 cities need not have to travel down to the metro city to do a follow-up consultation after a surgery. How he is doing, how is his wound, what type of medication he is taking. Can this be done on a telephone? Definitely can be done through a video consultation. Has it Does it decrease the cost? Obviously. Imagine the amount of time, effort, and money this person had to spend if he had to come to the city for a follow-up appointment. So, starting from as simple as this to as complex as precision medicine and personalized medicine, there's a huge benefit. Genomics cost a lot of money, but people don't realize that once they do a gene testing, and they can choose the right type of chemotherapy that can be given for the tumor, the way the tumor responds and the way that increases the person's lifespan and the quality of life is very different, rather than blindly treating a person with the chemotherapy and not seeing the response. Some people respond, some people don't respond, and those who don't respond will have a longer morbidities, complications, and then money spent on the first chemo cycle is a waste, and then they need to try out some other drugs. So then additional cost of that. So instead of that, if they would have done the genetic testing in the beginning, all this problem would have not been there. So we don't think like that. We don't think of the long term outcomes, the long term benefits, and how we can effectively use the newer technology to treat right in the first time, and thereby reduce the mortalities, morbidities associated with the disease. What we only think is the cost that is associated at that particular point of time, and then we think that okay, the newer technologies are only going to increase the cost and they are not of any benefit. So we need to do this analysis for each and every technology that we have, and see how effectively I can use this in order for me to bring down the cost, bring down the mortality, bring down the morbidity, give good quality of life to people. Thereby, they can go back to work. And if one sick person at home actually causes a lot of disturbance in the family ecosystem. There are so many people who are running around taking care of this person. So there is not only loss of income because of the person who is sick, but also the repercussions of that is far and beyond. So we need to think about all these things and see that, okay, when a technology comes into the market, we need to logically think, how can I use this technology, what difference it will make for my patient, and how I can use it effectively so that all the factors that I just described is taken care of. That is how we need to leverage technology, and that is how it will help us to lower the cost.
Excellent answer, man. Thank you. Thank you so
Excellent.
much. So I have two quick questions for all our panelists, and I want each one of you to answer in under 30 seconds. Okay, not more than that. The first one: how can healthcare technology improve our chances in fighting an epidemic, pre-COVID or after COVID, or a pandemic that we are currently facing? Like, how can we put forth a more efficient fight? I would like to, start with Ms. Vilu Williams. Ma'am, please. Quick answers. Okay.
It's very difficult for me to answer in 30 seconds. There, my 30 seconds are over. No, but more seriously, we need to ensure that the right, I don't know, in a pandemic, it is important to have the right program in place. If, for example, if I'm just talking about COVID, the way we have been working in hours and minutes as against days in setting up, areas of vaccination, areas of swabbing, areas of flu clinics and everything. So time is of essence, and that should be the focus in any pandemic. And the right kind of roadmap should be created by the sector, focused on people.
Right. All right. Dr. Ravindra? Sir, you have to unmute yourself.
Current pandemic, the early detection was the key to success, because our detection of RT-PCR coming after 24 to 48 hours, by the time an asymptomatic person moving in the society causing damage to another 21 or 22 people, not acceptable. It has to be detected immediately, and the moment you detect it, as early as possible, it will be easier to treat it, where your mortality rates also will go down.
Right. Thank you. Thank you, sir. Dr. Chandrika?
If I have to answer in 30 seconds, I would say the gene mapping of the mutations of the virus is very important, because that will help us to know whether the viruses that are coming in the future are any different, and whether the existing vaccine, existing medications are effective against that. So if you know that, we can plan ourselves how to handle the third wave, fourth wave, whatever it is, if it happens. So gene mapping is the key.
Super, super. Mr. Niranjan?
Yeah, I think because supply is less, demand is more. We should be more transparent. We should be more collaborative, because we have to use the existing resources more effectively. So collaboration is very important. That is for the current situation. But for us, we have to predict, get into the prediction, get into the data analysis, so that we can handle the future. Also, we should be more prepared to handle the near future. So that's the data is the only way to do it. But use it effectively.
Great, great. Mr. Subhash?
Yeah, I have just actually 3 points. One is vaccinated as quickly as possible, no political agenda. Second is make mandate that all hospitals, more than maybe 200 beds, should have their own oxygen emission plant. It's not a big costly. It is a 50, 60 lakh system, which is a PFA system. And third is actually training. And please actually make sure that doctors should not be following or working on supply chain issues. That we should train more and
Of
more
course.
staff.
Yeah. No, excellent points. Now, one more question that came into my mind while this panel was going on, while we were discussing, problems and solutions. And again, I want all of you to answer within 30 seconds because we're almost at the end of our panel. Again, starting with Vilu ma'am, what is the one problem that you've been facing so far at, all your different, the places where you've worked, to which you yourself are trying to find a solution?
Most importantly, the connection between the business processes and IT. I'm a pure IT person. And
Right.
as Dr. Karanjikar also said very rightly, that unless the business does not, or the people in the business users do not take the ownership of the processes and the automation that is required, it is going to be a
Yeah.
very big challenge. IT may be very experienced. I may have 30 years of experience designing HIS, for example, but that does not
Yeah.
help because everybody does not want to work my way. So it's
Right.
very critical that business and IT align to such an extent that there is a very smooth understanding of how the automation is going to work.
Right.
Whether it
Right.
is medical technology or whether it is administrative, again, any which ways.
Right, right. My question is, yeah, of course, more focused towards a technology that you've been facing an issue with the solution.
Okay.
But yeah, your answer works. Yeah, Dr. Ravindra, any technological issue that you've been facing so far
Yeah,
that you would like
technological
to solve?
issues again. Yeah, already I am on mute. Okay, the technological issues which we are facing is the mindset of the people of acceptance and awareness. I had been
Right.
time and again telling my IT people as well as various IT companies at all platforms that you have enormous capabilities. You can change the world actually, but people
True.
don't know. So you have to come forward. Like in HIS, we have 100 modules. Each module can give me 100 reports, but the user doesn't know what it can give it to me. So as long as I am not aware of it, I cannot use it properly. So the technology awareness and proper training of these people for that purpose is very important. Unfortunately, India has a bigger problem of population and especially untrained population, where it becomes really an issue for us.
True. Thank you, sir. Dr. Chandrika, ma'am, you're on mute. Yeah.
The problem that I face is interoperability. So there are a lot of technologies that are developed the silos. Like there is an app for diabetes, there is an app for heart problem, there's an app for
Yeah.
mother, there's an app for immunization. So as a physician or as a health like medical administrator, I can't have doctors to look at 10 different places to get the information. So we need to.
Yeah.
I also understand that each person is specialized in certain areas, so it is not possible for them to develop the whole gamut of things. But we should have a platform which can integrate all these things so that for the end user, it has to be one platform, and it can have a lot of other things at the back end running. So that interoperability is something that we should work on from technology point of view to see how to make it more agile, how to make it more resilient, how to make it more scalable, how to make it more replicable. So these are some of the big requirements from the industry and from the doctors.
Right. Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Niranjan.
Yeah, I think honestly I differ a bit because interoperability is very much there. If banks can work, if a Paytm can take money from my ICICI bank and it can put into a shop, if a physical money is moved, why can't my health data move, right? So it's not about the availability of the technology, it is the adoption of the technology. And the second most important is the standardization. If a banks can work on standards, if telecom can work on standard, healthcare also should work on standards. If a doctor is clearly mandated that this is the minimum data set that you are supposed to send it after every visit of a patient, naturally data is going to be available. The moment data is available, it is portable. Portable means it can be integration. So integrations is possible. portable is possible, interoperability is possible. There are no standards, there are no guidelines. I think either make it mandatory or incentivize like Obamacare. So that is the way. So the real technology challenges standardization and budget. These are the two main challenges according to me.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Subhash, I'd like to end this panel
Yeah.
finally with your opinion.
Okay. My view is during the COVID situation, I was fortunate or unfortunate to stay in 3 different countries: US, Canada, India.
Okay.
And I've seen actually wave 1 and wave 2. And I think the biggest challenge which I see is how to educate people, for a simple thing: use masks, social distance, and keep hygiene. And I look forward actually that media play a positive role on these things, to educate people in village, to educate everybody in a simple way, in a positive way.
Right. Thank you so much for all your wonderful answers and insights into medical technology in India. And I would just like to conclude by saying that today healthcare is incomplete without technology. And to achieve the sustainable development goal of healthcare for all, technology is going to play the most important role after clinical services. So let us all ensure to join our hands with all the stakeholders to achieve this target and truly make healthcare accessible and affordable for all. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Adi, for conducting it so nicely.
Thank you. Thank you.
No, thank
Yes,
you.
thank you,
My
Dr.
pleasure, sir.
Let's stay in
Thank
touch.
you, everyone. Just one moment,
Thank you,
please.
everybody.
Thank you all our esteemed panelists for this wonderful discussion. We would just like to present you the certificates of participation. Dr. Adit Desai, thank you very much for
Thank you.
moderating the session today.
Thank you.
Dr. Chandrika Kambam, thank you so much, ma'am, for gracing the occasion. Niranjan Ramakrishnan, sir, thank you so much for coming with us today.
Thank you.
Mr. Ravindra Karanjekar, thank you so much, sir. Subhash Vashisht, sir, thank you so much for
Thank
being
you.
with us.
Thank you very much.
Ms. Vilu Williams, thank you, ma'am, for always participating in our being in touch with us and supporting us all the while. Thank you so much, ma'am.
You're most welcome. Thank you.
Thank you so much, everyone, for this
Thank
session.
you.
Please
Thank you, everyone. Hope
Thank
to see
you.
you all sometime in the future. Thank you.
4:45 session now. We will end the session. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.